What's up, fellas? Smarter Dodge and Lightning Bolts working on the red car here. Um, what I'm doing is putting in these Team Z drag springs. I got these off a guy out in Corral. I was looking at them, but they're like 200 bucks new. I was just like, well, I had these in it. I think the last time I ran it at the track, I had stock coil springs cut down an inch, but it was really squatting pretty hard, so I thought I'd put these in to try it out. I never got up there to try, so I got these, picked them up for 125 bucks shipped, which is kind of a pretty good deal, I thought. Couldn't pass it up, so I got them, but wanted to show you what they look like side by side. Coil size is just about the same. Windings, it's a little bit taller, but you can definitely feel the difference in them. These are H&R Race springs that I've had in this before when it was more of a daily driver, and they're good. If you go with it's a pretty stout spring, and guys that have run a heavy spring, if you still got like the factory shocks and struts, it's going to give you a really rough ride. And it's not the spring's fault, it's more that the shock or the strut isn't strong enough to handle it, to control the spring. So if you upgrade the springs, I would also recommend upgrading the shocks and the struts. The other thing I did this week on these is to put in these seats I got from Pirate. These are Procar. They're faded, but they're mint, really, you know, right there. That's why I had the wife buy me these black towels to put on there, and I had to cut the spring right here. You can see that bracket because it's kind of got the outboard extenders on it, so they'll fit pretty much any seat bracket, I guess is what they're planning to do. But I had to cut that thing down here because it was hitting the floorboard. So to get it sitting down far enough, I think it's a good idea. If you're going to be putting seats in and you're going to be competing your car, you know, measure how much space you got above your head to the headliner, because a helmet's going to take up some room and you don't want to have your head jammed into the headliner when you're trying to race. So these, I got them like at their lowest setting. I had to cut off the bottom, like I said, I had to cut off the bottom bolt hole for this, which is where they were. It sat up pretty high. Didn't like that. I do like that these actually flip forward. The seats I bought for the Trooper car, it says in the ad, you know, the seat reclines and declines, but then there's just like a little knob on the side. You got to sit there and click, 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 and it just barely moves. It's so aggravating. So with a hatchback, it's not such a big deal because you got all the room in the back, but with a coupe, it's nice to have that ability to flip the seat forward when you're loading up the slicks in the back seat. So I got the hose I was waiting for. It was up back order for a while. This is the line that goes from the hard point up on the body to the little T at the brake line. I broke mine when I was swapping the rear ends. If you remember or stayed awake long enough, you see I put a 456 geared rear end in this, and I put the 488 is going to go in a Trooper car. So anyway, just giving you an update on what I'm doing on this, and I got to get back at it. It's down to like a heat index, you know, after we had this little sprinkle, the heat index is down to a nice comfy 102. It had been up to like 112 earlier. It's making it pretty miserable. That's why that guy's out here. Notice the pristine front cover and back cover, and it works. Never been ravaged by maniacs ever. But anyway, I'm gonna get back at it. Appreciate y'all. Later. All right, fellas, so I got the brakes installed, all wrapped up. We're gonna bleed it as soon as my able-bodied assistant gets out here. This contraption is what I use when I bleed brakes. The idea behind it is the fluid comes out when you loosen the bleeder valve, and it comes, some of it comes up in here. Usually I got it more at an angle, but right now this is just some stuff I had out here. Objective is just to get the fluid to come out and then the air bubbles out. But with this setup like this, the fluid can travel back down. You don't have to use so much fluid when you're bleeding the brakes. It doesn't go on the ground or down into a bucket or something like that. So you don't have to keep running up there and checking the fluid in the master cylinder. So we'll get this wrapped up and get it back on the road. Hopefully I maybe just have to do the back ones. We'll see how it feels after we get these done. And then this was the first time I used these. They're like moving blankets from Harbor Freight, and they were like $6 for a 6x6 blanket, but they're great, you know, for instead of laying on the concrete, and gives a little bit of cushion. I'll definitely be using them in the future instead of, you know, when you're on unfinished concrete, it is a pain in the butt trying to slide around a little bit underneath the car and get up and down. When you get old, like me, the ground gets further away. It's harder to get up. You know, I ain't need my medic alert bracelet yet, but these things are handy. All right, I'm gonna get this thing started, get going on it. All right, fellas. So I got this wrapped up. Gonna put a topper on this. Let's see, the 456 rear end. First time I drove it after I had it apart and like cleaned everything up, and kind of, I didn't overhaul it, but I checked everything out, and it works a lot better. It's a lot quieter, and so that's good. It did make a lot of racket when I was in a trooper car for some reason. I measured this before putting in the when I had the H&R race springs in here. I was 26.5 inches from the ground through the center cap to here, and now it's a full 27.5, so another inch added onto it, and it's a lot stiffer on the back end. It even kind of bounces going down the road a little bit, so it'll definitely be stiffer. I don't think I'll get up to the track with this again until I can get the transmission out. Oops, sorry about that. Got a leak out of the front input shaft, I believe. Not a huge issue. It's not like I've never put stuff together and had a leak. It happens, so not upset or flicking boogers. It just, sometimes it works, sometimes it don't. So that's got to be remedied before I take it to the track again, though. So that's a wrap for this. And now tomorrow night I can get back on the trooper car, start welding the headers. It's a balmy heat index of 102, and it's 7 o'clock at night. It's pretty awesome. All right, appreciate y'all, fellas. Later.